The arena erupts in cheers. A fan's unwanted hands violate Scarlett's boundaries as she lands from a high-risk dive. This wasn't part of the match. Behind the explosive spectacle of WWE lies a forbidden line that some fans can't resist crossing. Remember the shocking moment when a rogue spectator blindsided Randy Orton after the bell, or the infamous Hitman ambush that security never saw coming? Then there's the unhinged fan who targeted Mrs. McMahon herself, right in the middle of a packed arena. What drives ordinary people to risk everything for a few seconds in the spotlight? The electric atmosphere seems to intoxicate certain viewers, transforming them from spectators into unwanted participants. But cross that barrier and there's no coming back. These aren't just ejections, they're lifetime bans that follow these fans long after the crowds have gone home. Let's start with a 6-woman tag match in Cancun. Scarlett's high-flying crossbody to the outside took a horrifying turn when she landed among spectators. What should have been a routine crowd dive became something far more sinister. A male fan seized the vulnerable moment when the performer's back was turned, grabbing Scarlett and rubbing her body in a clearly inappropriate manner. The disturbing scene, captured on video that later circulated online, shows the shocking violation of a performer's space and bodily autonomy. Lady Shani, Scarlett's quick-thinking tag partner, immediately recognized the danger and physically extracted her teammate from the man's unwanted grip. The intervention likely prevented further assault, but the damage was already done. Scarlett later addressed the incident on Twitter with powerful clarity. "It is never okay to touch a performer without their consent. I didn't realize what happened until I watched the footage afterward, being so in the moment after a dive with my back turned. Otherwise, I would have reacted much differently." Up next is the Hall of Fame ambush that shocked WWE. Nobody saw him coming, as wrestling legend Bret the Hitman Hart stood at the podium accepting his rightful place in history. A blur of movement erupted from the crowd. 5 decades of wrestling excellence shattered by 20 seconds of chaos. This wasn't some heated rivalry moment during Hart's prime. This was supposed to be his crowning achievement. The Barclays Center in Brooklyn fell silent as a rogue fan somehow breached multiple security checkpoints and tackled the 61-year-old wrestling icon mid-speech. What most viewers didn't realize, this wasn't just some impulsive fan. Zachary Madsen, the 26-year-old attacker, brought trained fighting skills to this ambush. An amateur MMA fighter, Madsen managed to land several calculated strikes before security could intervene, even leaving WWE guard Thaddeus Jones with injuries during the takedown. The consequences: beyond the lifetime WWE ban, Madsen faced serious legal repercussions, criminal trespassing, 2 assault charges, and interfering with a sporting event. His moment of infamy earned him something the Hitman never gave his opponents: a full year behind bars. Up next is a fan intervention that nearly turned deadly. Imagine watching a wrestler plummet 20 feet because someone couldn't control their fandom. During the electrifying ladder match between Rob Van Dam and Eddie Guerrero on Raw in May 2002, one spectator decided the script needed rewriting. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The Intercontinental Championship hanging above the ring, Eddie Guerrero scaling the ladder, fingers inches from glory. That's when an RVD superfan made his move. This wasn't just heckling or throwing something into the ring. This man physically invaded the battlefield and shoved the ladder with Guerrero perched at its peak. A potential career ending, or worse, move that could have ended in tragedy. What happened next reveals why Guerrero was a legend. The skilled fighter somehow landed on his feet, defying physics and avoiding disaster. But here's where it gets even more bizarre. Instead of fleeing, the fan raised his fists, challenging one of WWE's elite performers to an impromptu street fight. Before this delusional matchup could unfold, a referee tackled the intruder from behind. Guerrero still managed to deliver justice with a quick punch and kick to the man who nearly destroyed his career. While the match eventually continued, this fan's moment of misguided glory earned him nothing but a permanent spot on WWE's blacklist. Up next is the moment Triple H transformed from villain to real-life superhero in seconds. During a 2000 episode of Raw, chaos erupted when Linda McMahon, wife of WWE owner Vince and mother of Stephanie, found herself in the crosshairs of an unhinged fan. The crowd watched in stunned silence as a man vaulted over the barricade, making a beeline straight for Mrs. McMahon. His intentions? We'll never know. Was it a misguided attempt at connection or something more sinister? What happened next wasn't in any script. Triple H, still known as Hunter Helmsley back then, was playing the bad guy that night. He had no storyline connection to Linda McMahon whatsoever, but when danger appeared, character lines blurred instantly. Without hesitation, the 14-time world champion launched himself at the intruder, tackling him to the ground and pinning him until security could intervene. The commentary team of JR and Jerry the King Lawler fell completely silent. This wasn't planned television. Perhaps most impressive was what happened after. Both Triple H and Linda McMahon seamlessly slipped back into character once the threat was neutralized, continuing the show as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, our fan earned himself the ultimate souvenir, a lifetime ban from all WWE events. Ironically, the man who protected Linda that night would later marry her daughter, Stephanie. Was this heroic moment the first step toward winning the McMahon family's approval? We may never know, but one thing's certain, some fans cross lines they can never uncross. The next one reveals how even harmless tributes can cross unexpected lines. WrestleMania 39 at SoFi Stadium, the pinnacle of wrestling entertainment, became a nightmare for one dedicated fan named Kevin Hunsberger, who thought his costume choice was the perfect homage. Hunsberger arrived dressed as WWE Hall of Famer Big Boss Man, the iconic wrestling character who portrayed a prison guard complete with nightstick, sunglasses, and the critical detail, an authentic-looking Georgia Sheriff's Department patch. Night 1 went perfectly. Hunsberger blended in with countless other cosplaying fans, his tribute to the late Ray Traylor seemingly appreciated by fellow wrestling enthusiasts. Then came Night 2's shocking twist. Security personnel flagged Hunsberger's costume as potentially illegal, too convincing for comfort in a crowded stadium where real law enforcement presence is critical. Despite his desperate attempts to explain it was just a wrestling tribute, even removing the problematic patch, security remained unmoved. What makes this case unique is the community response. Unlike other incidents where fans cheer the removal of troublemakers, here the crowd actively defended Hunsberger, arguing that impersonating a fictional wrestling character isn't the same as impersonating actual law enforcement. Their pleas fell on deaf ears. Hunsberger ultimately had to leave the biggest wrestling event of the year, not for jumping barriers or attacking performers, but for being too good at honoring a wrestling legend. The question remains, did this fan deserve a permanent ban for his passionate tribute? Unlike others on our list, his intentions seemed nothing but respectful, a stark reminder that sometimes even the most innocent fandom can cross invisible lines. The next one proves some lines should never be crossed, no matter how blurred wrestling's reality becomes. During an explosive match between Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, the action spilled beyond the ring as the two superstars brawled throughout the arena. As the competitors made their way back to the ring, Banks climbed over the barricade, a vulnerable moment a male fan chose to exploit. In a split second, he reached out and attempted to inappropriately touch the boss. Unlike other fan incidents motivated by misplaced enthusiasm or confused reality, this was something far more disturbing: sexual harassment caught on camera during a live WWE event. The response was swift and severe. Security immediately identified and removed the perpetrator, working with local law enforcement to address the situation. WWE's zero-tolerance policy kicked in with full force, a lifetime ban from all future events. Banks herself took to Twitter, publicly declaring her intention to pursue legal action against the individual, transforming what might have been an anonymous ejection into a very public warning about respecting performers' boundaries and bodily autonomy. What makes this case stand apart is the universal agreement from fans, performers, and company alike that such behavior crosses a line that transcends wrestling's theater. While other banned fans might find sympathy in some corners, this individual's actions earned nothing but condemnation. Some wrestling memories are meant to last a lifetime. For this fan, his WWE lifetime ban serves as a permanent reminder that the performers we watch are real people deserving of basic respect and dignity. Up next is the day when chaos multiplied, 5 against the WWE. Imagine the scene: London, England, April 2015. John Cena and Daniel Bryan are battling Cesaro and Tyson Kidd in what should have been a highlight reel tag match. Little did anyone know this would be Bryan's last match before his temporary retirement. Then the unthinkable happens. Not one, not two, but 5 uninvited guests swarm the ring in perfect synchronization. The elite wrestlers freeze in disbelief as their carefully choreographed combat turns into an impromptu circus. This wasn't a random act of madness. The interlopers were members of the YouTube prank channel Troll Station, executing their most ambitious stunt yet. While security scrambled to respond, these amateur invaders seized their moment, one even landing a surprisingly decent rock bottom on his accomplice, while others grappled with overwhelmed referees. What makes this incident unique? The lack of malice. Unlike other entries on our list, these pranksters came for clicks, not confrontation. The genuine WWE superstars, perhaps too shocked to react, simply watched the bizarre spectacle unfold, some even appearing amused by the audacity. Eventually, security restored order, ejecting the YouTube crew from the arena. While the group received their inevitable lifetime bans, they seemed unfazed, promptly uploading their viral moment to millions of views. Mission accomplished despite the consequences. Perhaps the most telling detail, even as they were being dragged away, not a single wrestler appeared angry. In the strange world of WWE, where the line between fiction and reality constantly blurs, sometimes even the real intruders become part of the show. In the next one, we witness Triple H moonlighting as security, and excelling at it. Berlin, Germany, 1998. The atmosphere crackles with electricity as two titans of the Attitude Era, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H, lock up during WWE's European tour. This wasn't just any match. This was the recently crowned WWE Champion Austin at the absolute zenith of his popularity, facing a rising star in Triple H, a man destined for wrestling immortality but not quite there yet. The battle raged until Austin finally connected with his signature Stone Cold Stunner, securing the 3-count victory. The crowd erupted, including one fan who took his enthusiasm several steps too far. As Austin celebrated, a German spectator leapt the barricade and rushed the ring. What happened next wasn't in any script. Before security could even react, the 250-pound Triple H, despite just being pinned, sprang into action. Without missing a beat, he suplexed the intruder with devastating precision, then continued raining down blows until security arrived. Even referee Mike Chioda couldn't resist adding a few kicks of his own to the flattened fan. The most impressive part? Triple H never broke character. He seamlessly incorporated this real-life security threat into his heel persona, making the entire incident appear planned to the thousands watching. For this particular German fan, his souvenir from Berlin wasn't a t-shirt or autograph. It was a lifetime ban and the dubious honor of being personally ejected from the show by one of wrestling's greatest performers. Up next, the Shield vs. Wyatt family saga gave us an unexpected fourth member, Night of Champions, September 2015. The air buzzes with anticipation as Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns await their mystery partner Chris Jericho for an explosive 6-man war against the Wyatt family. What happened next wasn't on any match card. Suddenly, a black-clad figure slips into the ring, standing shoulder to shoulder with the Shield members. For a surreal moment, this 37-year-old superfan named Oscar Ramirez lived every wrestling fanatic's fantasy, positioned between his heroes, staring down Roman Reigns himself. The illusion didn't last long. Despite his convincing Shield-inspired attire that momentarily fooled the cameras, security quickly swarmed the imposter. His dream scenario transformed into a nightmare as he was dragged from the spotlight and straight into legal trouble. Ramirez's impromptu Shield audition earned him more than just 15 seconds of fame. It came with a 10-day jail sentence for trespassing and the inevitable lifetime WWE ban. The wrestlers, preparing for legitimate combat against the Wyatts, barely acknowledged the interruption, but somewhere in the WWE archives, there exists footage of the night when, for just a few heartbeats, the Shield had an unofficial fourth member who took fandom several steps too far. Next one shows wrestling's blurred reality when a fan took justice into their own hands. 1997 marked a dark chapter in the Undertaker saga. Paul Bearer's ultimate betrayal when he aligned with Mankind and later introduced Kane, claiming the dead man was responsible for their parents' deaths. Some storylines cut too deep for certain viewers. During a particularly heated Raw episode, Bearer was playing his devious character to perfection at ringside when a young fan decided the script needed a reality check. Without warning, this pint-sized vigilante lunged from the crowd, grabbing at Bearer's ankles. The manager's theatrical villainy transformed into genuine surprise as he toppled backward, crashing onto the protective mats surrounding the ring. What makes this attack unique is the attacker's age. Just a child who couldn't separate the character from the performer, so consumed with defending the Undertaker's honor that they physically intervened. Security quickly separated the young fan from Bearer, who remarkably maintained his composure. Like the consummate professional he was, Bearer brushed himself off and continued his villainous performance as if nothing had happened. While WWE's standard punishment for ring invaders is a lifetime ban, one wonders if they made an exception for this youthful offender. A stark reminder that wrestling's most powerful storylines sometimes convince the most vulnerable viewers that the drama is all too real. Up next is when NXT's Undisputed Era delivered unscripted justice. The year was 2017. NXT WWE's critically acclaimed developmental brand was in the middle of a hard-hitting match between the Undisputed Era and the powerhouse team of Heavy Machinery plus Cassius Ohno. The black and gold brand had built its reputation on technical excellence and passionate fans who respected the craft, but there's always one who breaks the mold. Without warning, an attention-seeking spectator leapt the barricade, apparently believing this was his moment to trend on social media. He picked the wrong ring to invade. Kyle O'Reilly, one of wrestling's most legitimately skilled fighters, spotted the intruder instantly. Before security could even react, O'Reilly delivered swift judgment, a devastating kick straight to the fan's face that ended his 15 seconds of fame before it began. As security dragged away the dazed invader, the Undisputed Era barely missed a beat. They proceeded to defeat Heavy Machinery and Ohno as planned, adding one unofficial knockout to their official victory that night. For the would-be famous fan, his souvenir wasn't a selfie or autograph, just a lifetime ban, potential legal troubles, and the dubious distinction of learning firsthand that the wrestling isn't real argument doesn't apply when you're tasting Kyle O'Reilly's boot. Next is the stunt that turned fan access into fan excess. In 2015, WWE's Fan Access event was designed to give dedicated supporters an up-close experience with the company's most iconic props and memorabilia, including a full-sized Elimination Chamber structure. For most attendees, this rare opportunity meant respectful photos and awestruck gazing at the infamous steel prison. For one fan, it was an invitation to channel his inner Rob Van Dam. Security watched in disbelief as this unauthorized daredevil began scaling the massive chamber structure, climbing higher and higher, while concerned onlookers gasped below. The moment transformed from fan appreciation to potential disaster as he reached the top of the intimidating steel dome. What makes this incident unique is the setting, not during a televised event with adrenaline-pumping matches, but during a controlled fan experience specifically designed for safe interaction. Fortunately, this story ends without physical injury. Security managed to talk the impromptu climber down before any dangerous stunts could be attempted. His punishment wasn't jail time or a courtroom appearance, but something that might have hurt just as much for a dedicated WWE enthusiast: immediate revocation of his fan access privileges. Sometimes the harshest penalty for a superfan isn't legal trouble, it's being banned from the very experience they traveled to enjoy. The next one features a costumed crusader who briefly stole the show. During a WWE live event in Newcastle, England, fans witnessed an unexpected addition to the card when a man dressed as the Red Power Ranger decided to book himself in an impromptu match against security. As wrestlers prepared backstage for their scheduled performance, this Morphin Maverick seized his moment. Without warning, the costumed fan vaulted the barricade and sprinted into the ring, not to attack anyone, but simply to complete a victory lap around WWE's hallowed squared circle. The crowd's reaction transformed from shock to amusement as the Red Ranger showcased surprising agility, momentarily evading the security team that scrambled after him. For a few glorious seconds, this fan lived every wrestling enthusiast's fantasy, having thousands chant while he performed in a WWE ring. Reality caught up quickly. Security eventually cornered their colorful quarry, ending his unauthorized power move with an unceremonious ejection from the arena. What makes this incident stand apart is its harmless nature. No wrestlers were targeted, no one was injured, just a brief moment of absurdist theater from a fan whose costume choice couldn't have been more appropriate. After all, what's more fitting for an unauthorized ring invasion than dressing as a character famous for morphing into battle unexpectedly? While his lifetime ban was inevitable, somewhere in WWE's security footage archives exists the legendary tape of the night a Power Ranger briefly claimed Newcastle as his Zord. The next one reveals how fan passion can cross from vocal criticism to ejection-worthy offense. In 2018, WWE's relentless push of Roman Reigns had created the opposite of its intended effect. Rather than embracing their chosen champion, audiences were rebelling, and one fan decided to make his feelings unmistakably clear. During a pivotal Raw segment featuring the Big Dog, this particular spectator elevated his protest beyond the typical chorus of boos. Armed with nothing but his middle finger and a series of explicit DX-style crotch chops, he launched a one-man visual protest that cameras couldn't avoid. While WWE crowds had routinely expressed their displeasure with Reigns, this fan's explicit gestures apparently crossed the invisible line between acceptable dissent and removal-worthy behavior. Arena security quickly identified and escorted him from the building. But the drama wasn't quite finished. As this anti-Reigns rebel was being removed, he apparently exchanged words with another attendee, triggering a brief physical confrontation that security managed to contain before it escalated further. The punchline to this whole saga, our ejected protester reportedly continued his personal rebellion against Roman's push from home, still throwing those same crotch chops at his television during WrestleMania 37. Proof that while you can remove a fan from the arena, you can't always remove their determination to express their wrestling opinions. Unlike other entries on our list, this fan's offense wasn't invading sacred space or endangering performers, just expressing his views in a manner too explicit for family-friendly programming. This next one showcases Nature's role as the ultimate heel and one fan who couldn't handle the script change. WrestleMania 37 marked WWE's triumphant return to live audiences after a pandemic-induced hiatus of empty arenas and virtual fans. The electricity in Tampa's Raymond James Stadium was palpable, until Mother Nature decided to book herself in the main event. What began as light drizzle quickly transformed into a torrential downpour, forcing an unprecedented weather delay for WWE's showcase event. While most fans took shelter and waited patiently, one particular attendee couldn't contain his frustration. As the delay stretched on, this rain-soaked fan snapped in spectacular fashion. His target, the cardboard cutouts WWE had strategically placed throughout the stadium, silent reminders of the pandemic era the event was supposed to be leaving behind. In a rage-fueled rampage, he began systematically destroying these paper proxies, ripping them apart as if they were personally responsible for the weather. Security quickly intervened, ejecting the fan before his theatrical tantrum could escalate further. The cruel irony? After waiting through a year-long pandemic to see WrestleMania live, this impatient fan missed the entire show because he couldn't wait through a brief weather delay. While the clouds eventually parted and the event proceeded successfully, our cardboard cutout destroyer experienced his own personal rainfall of regret somewhere outside the arena. Sometimes the most memorable WrestleMania moments happen before the bell even rings, especially when fans become impromptu weather critics with destructive tendencies. The next one proves even smaller WWE brands face dangerous fan moments. During a 205 Live episode featuring Kalisto teamed with Grand Metalik against Brian Kendrick and Jack Gallagher, the scripted chaos took an unexpected turn towards something far more dangerous. The match had already descended into disorder, ending in disqualification as Kendrick and Gallagher abandoned wrestling rules to brutalize the luchadors. But for Kalisto, the real threat wasn't from his scheduled opponents. Without warning, a water bottle, thrown with alarming force and precision, struck the masked superstar directly in the face. The impact was immediate and devastating. What should have been an innocuous plastic container became a dangerous projectile in the hands of a reckless spectator. The scene quickly transformed from entertainment to emergency. WWE officials and medical staff rushed to Kalisto's side as he clutched his mask, blood visible beneath. The diagnosis was serious enough to require stitches for a facial laceration, a real injury amid the choreographed combat. A hush fell over the previously rowdy crowd, collective shock replacing cheers as the reality of what had occurred sank in. This wasn't part of the storyline. This was assault, plain and simple. Security moved swiftly through the audience, identifying and removing the perpetrator. Another name added to WWE's permanent ban list. Another reminder that the invisible barrier between performers and audience exists for good reason. For Kalisto, the incident meant physical pain and recovery time. For WWE, it represented yet another challenge in protecting their performers while maintaining the electric atmosphere that makes live wrestling so compelling. Next, during an episode of WWE Main Event in 2014, Natalya's routine entrance took an uncomfortable turn. While engaging with fans along the ramp, offering high fives as she typically does, one spectator's hand made contact with an inappropriate area of her body. Although camera footage captured the moment, which quickly circulated online, the young fans' reaction suggested it may have been unintentional. What stood out was Natalya's consummate professionalism. Without missing a beat, she responded with a composed high five and continued toward the ring as if nothing had happened. Her ability to maintain her composure in that unexpected moment demonstrated the poise that comes with her Hart family wrestling legacy. This wasn't the last time a female WWE superstar would face such a situation. Bayley, swing another beloved performer experienced her own inappropriate fan encounter during an entrance. Bayley's entrance was always a moment of pure joy, her hugger persona connecting with young fans as she made her way to the ring. But one Monday Night Raw appearance revealed the uncomfortable boundaries some adult fans try to cross. As Bayley stopped to embrace a young girl along the entrance ramp, a heartwarming tradition that defined her character, an adult male fan decided he deserved the same treatment. He eagerly extended his arms, clearly expecting the WWE superstar to include him in her pre-match ritual. Bayley's response was immediate and definitive, complete disregard. Without acknowledging the man's expectation, she smoothly continued down the ramp, reserving her character's signature affection for the younger audience members it was intended for. This subtle but powerful boundary setting highlighted the challenging position female performers navigate. Bayley's character was built on warmth and accessibility, yet she still needed to maintain professional boundaries, especially with adult male fans whose intentions might extend beyond innocent admiration. The next one shows how fan speech can cross the line even without physical intrusion. In 2017, the wrestling world was buzzing with controversy as bullying allegations against WWE commentator and Hall of Famer JBL gained traction online. One fan decided to bring this internet discourse directly into the arena during a SmackDown taping. Armed with nothing more dangerous than a sign reading "JBL bullied me," this attendee intended to make a visible statement about the brewing controversy. Unlike other entries on our list involving physical invasions or dangerous projectiles, this fan's offense was purely speech-based. Yet when WWE camera crews spotted the message, the response was swift. Security personnel approached and either confiscated the sign or ejected its owner entirely. What makes this case particularly divisive is the context. JBL, born John Bradshaw Layfield, wasn't just any commentator. He was a former world champion, half of the legendary APA tag team, and a recent WWE Hall of Fame inductee. But alongside his accolades came persistent rumors of backstage bullying, with some wrestlers claiming his behavior drove talented performers from the company. While WWE has strict policies against signs containing offensive language or explicit content, many observers questioned whether criticism of a performer's alleged off-camera behavior warranted removal. Was this about protecting a company asset or silencing legitimate criticism? The sign-wielding fan may have received his own form of ban that night, but the incident only fueled the ongoing debate about wrestling's sometimes problematic backstage culture, proving that sometimes the most powerful statements fans make don't require jumping barriers or throwing objects. The last one proves even WWE's top stars aren't safe from fan ambush. During a 2021 episode of Monday Night Raw, the script called for Seth Rollins to demolish Finn Balor in a calculated attack. As Rollins stood triumphant over his fallen opponent, the narrative took an unplanned detour into reality. Without warning, 24-year-old Alyssa Spencer burst from the crowd with shocking speed, blindsiding the former world champion with a full-force tackle that sent both men tumbling to the ground. Live cameras caught the surreal moment as a civilian attempted to legitimately wrestle one of WWE's most decorated performers. The Raw audience watched in stunned silence as security swarmed the scene, separating Spencer from Rollins. In an impressive display of professionalism, Rollins, despite being caught completely off guard, maintained enough composure to hold his attacker at bay until help arrived. For Spencer, his impulsive 15 seconds of infamy carried serious consequences beyond just ejection. Police arrested him immediately, leading to criminal charges including attempted assault and disrupting a live sporting event. What drives someone to risk legal trouble, financial penalties, and lifetime bans for a momentary physical encounter with a wrestling superstar? The psychology behind these incidents remains as fascinating as it is disturbing, an uncomfortable reminder that the thin barrier between performance and audience sometimes isn't enough to protect those in the ring. And this brings us to a wrap. From Hall of Fame ceremonies to Raw main events, these moments remind us that while wrestling blurs the line between reality and fiction, the consequences for crossing physical boundaries remain very real. Check out this video showcasing the most jaw-dropping moments when WWE superstars' clothes were stolen. Like and subscribe for 100 years of luck. Until next time.